I get occasionally called by somebody from inside. And what I think they're doing, first of all, one, we may be faking a UFO situation for reasons that I don't understand.
If we are faking a UFO situation, do you think that there's technology that's available to people in the United States that is beyond our current understanding of what's possible?
90% no.
90% no.
It's very hard to imagine physicists continuing to work on nothing for their entire careers. The number of people who are going to be retiring shortly, having never actually done physics as a physicist. We're talking about wasted lives. People are going to be very weird when they realize that they blew their entire career. And I believe I can say what many of these problems are. And if you want to humiliate me at a leading university, just ask me to talk. You can put it on video. You don't realize how many things the Standard Model has subtly wrong when we explain it to people. It's not that the Lagrangian is wrong, not that the rules are wrong, but we say wrong stuff. We say, like, there are 3 generations that are only of matter that are only distinguished by mass. In other words, there's 3 copies of this stuff here. This is like the wood version, and then there's the plastic version, and then there's the metal version. There aren't 3, there are 2 generations plus an extra imposter generation, which looks like a generation. I mean, I can get into these things. And that should be a provocation. Somebody says, let's call this guy up, have him out, and figure out what he's talking about. Doesn't matter. I don't think we're doing physics.
What do you think they're doing?
I think we are playing paintball rather than going to war, and we're giving prizes for generals who command the best paintball army. And then we're referencing everyone else who's actually trying to figure out how to fight to, well, have you submitted to the paintball competition? It's like, no, I don't want to do paintball. The danger of unleashing a neutron on the world is so high. Now I realize I'm done with that. You guys are willing to play footsies with Putin? You're not going to survive. You're not the responsible adults I thought you were. Like, if I unleash a neutron and it leads to some sort of proliferation of deadly technology, it's on you. It's not on me. You're already taking risks that you shouldn't be taking.
So, if you think 90% sure that this is not coming from here, you believe this because you don't think that the proper science in order to achieve these kind of results is being done by the people that you believe are capable of doing it?
That is correct. I know that, for example, when I talk to Nima, or when I talk to Juan Maldacena, or when I've talked to Natty Seiberg, these people are absolutely brilliant, and they don't know the answer unless they're the greatest actors I've ever seen.
So it was 2004. November 14th. It's really, if you draw San Diego to Ensenada, Mexico, we're about 60 miles off the coast in between the two. We're doing workups. We have no idea that for 2 weeks, the 2 weeks we've been at sea, they've been tracking these things coming out of the sky. They would come down from above 80,000 feet. They'd drop down to about 20,000 feet. They'd hang out, and then they'd go straight back up after about 3 or 4 hours.
So they observed these things, and they never bothered telling any of you guys?
That's correct.
So they just knew that these things had been visiting this area,
yes,
but they just allowed this training exercise to take place anyway.
Yeah, talking to them, for the 2 weeks, they would show up, but it was when we weren't flying. Mm-hmm. So the typical carrier schedule is, for us, it was about noon to midnight. It's a 12-hour day. There's reasons for that. It can go a lot longer. But for training, we just do the 12-hour day thing. And it's cyclic ops, so you got guys taking off and landing periodically. So we were on one of the first goes. It's noon, 1 o'clock, somewhere around there, and we take off. The Marines take off first, and my buddy Cheeks, who's the CO of the Marine Squadron, he was leading the Red Air. When he launched off the carrier first, they called him up and said, hey, what do you got on board? Well, the original legacy F-18s don't have as much gas as the Super Hornets. Super Hornet's about 30% bigger. So they start talking to him about fuel, and based on how long we're going to be airborne and everything else, they go, hey, why don't you just go ahead and proceed to your cap point, because we had just taken off. And that's when the controller had come up and said, hey, I forget our call sign. It's probably like dealer is usually what we went. So that'd be like dealer 1-1. This is Prince and Control. What do you got? Say your loadout. And I kind of chuckled. I said, well, I got a CATM 9, which is basically just a blue metal tube with a seeker head for an AIM-9 IR missile. It's a training. It doesn't come off the airplane. You can beat it with a sledgehammer. That's the only way you're going to get it off, or you got to unlock the lugs with a key. So I'm like kind of chuckling. He goes, well, hey, we're going to cancel the training. So we're like, okay. He says, we got real world vector and they're going to send us out to the west. So picture if it's, if you got a clock, the Nimitz is in the middle. We're a little bit south of that, about 40 miles south. And then the Marines are about 100 miles south of the ship, about 60 miles between the two of us. So as this is all happening, my wingman is joining up. And these are F-18Fs, so there's 2 people in each jet. So it's me and my Wizzo, which is weapon systems operator, and I've got the other pilot and the weapon systems operator in the other jet. So they tell us all this, hey, we're going to real-world vector, and they send us out 270, about 60 miles away from where we're going. So now we're going out even further out to sea. We have no idea what we're intercepting, and this is when the controller starts talking to us. He says, hey, sir, we've seen these objects. For 2 weeks, they've been coming down, and he's giving us the whole story. He says, we need you to go investigate. We want to know what these are.
But they're asking you to investigate in a jet that's unarmed.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we have no... And there's reasons for that we don't fly. We typically don't fly with live ordnance unless we're actually going into like a combat zone or we're on a training range and we're going to shoot something. And the reason is you can go through history of the Navy or Air Force. If you put live missiles on airplanes and then you start doing training where you're squeezing the trigger, someone always messes the switchology up and someone gets shot down. It's happened multiple times. So we don't do it. There's times that we do, but it's rare. So we start flying out to the west. Now, I want you to think, because the other pilot has when you talk to, it's out there, it was a female. When you talk to her, here's the kind of goes through the mindset of, hey, we're off the coast of Mexico, real world vector. We have no idea what we're going to look at. Probably drug runner, because you get the drug runners coming up the coast. So we're like, okay. So we drive out, and they're calling down ranges. So they're telling us, hey, it's 270 at 30 miles at 20,000 feet. And it's, and then you just count down the ranges. And we're talking back and forth the whole time. So they got to a point where they say, hey, merge plot, which means radars have resolution cells, range and azimuth of what the radar can actually see. Once you're inside that box, you can't tell the difference between me and the object I'm going at. We're just become one big blob. So they call merge plot, and so the other jet is on my left-hand side, and I'm going to go to a clock code to make it simple. So the object we're going to end up looking for is right in the middle of the clock, and we are at the 6 o'clock position, and my wingman is off to my left side, so she's further down with her Wizzo. So as we're looking around, we look to the right, and yesterday was a perfect example out here. The water is perfectly calm. No white caps. I mean, it's literally a perfect San Diego, California day.
Based on our investigations and stuff that we've seen, okay, there is definitely something that I think would rival what we know currently with physics, and a tech that potentially is out there that we don't have the ability to reproduce, because it would basically be like dropping a cell phone right off back during the time of maybe caveman. So we just don't have the tech to develop it yet. What I can also tell you is, based on our interviews, and this has been something that you can go back and watch with the congressional hearings, but I was actually able to ask some of the witnesses, what are these things? And they keep saying interdimensional. And then when you talk about the interdimensional aspect of, are these things pre-existing, maybe outside of what we currently know as our own dimension? Is there historical significance to this? Yes. Is there multiple events that go back to, I would argue, maybe even before the time of Christ that have documented this in text? Yes. So do I believe that the government has access to certain technology? Yes, to an extent. And I believe that certain contractors potentially have back engineered this tech.
What are you saying?
I have seen photos. I have seen...
what have you seen photos of?
So I was in a skiff, and I can't discuss all that was in a skiff, but what I can tell you is, based on the photos that I've seen, I'm very confident that there's things out there that have not been created by mankind.
It seems crazy that people have access to information that shows that there's something outside of us that is more intelligent, at least more capable than we are, and they hide it from everybody else.
But what we are seeing doesn't have any of that attributable compromise. It's not, these objects aren't slowing down. They're not changing their performance capabilities. They can do the same thing that we're seeing in the air and possibly in space and even underwater. So that is a fundamentally different type of technology than we are used to dealing with.
Is the assumption that they are doing something with space, time, and gravity around them?
If you had the ability to create this bubble around you in a localized area that insulated you from the effects of Earth's gravity. Now, what is gravity? People think that, when I drop my glasses, that's gravity. That's not gravity. That's an effect of gravity. Gravity is the warping of space-time. And that's important because people you hear the term thrown around a lot, but they don't realize that space and time are actually connected. They are one and the same. They're opposite sides, if you will, of the same coin. And so you can't have one without the other. And so you have this ability to create a bubble around you that insulates you from the warping of space-time, let's say in this case Earth's gravity or something like that. Then the way you experience time inside that bubble is perhaps fundamentally different than the way you might experience space-time outside that bubble, because you're not subject to the effects of gravity, which would explain potentially why things don't need wings and why they don't need propulsion systems like that, right? So it's a completely different way of looking at how we understand physics and how we as humans move about. Everything we do is fundamentally force equals mass times acceleration, right? F equals ma, right? Mass times acceleration and you get force. This may be something a little bit different. This is not using, again, conventional thrust, or if I, Newtonian, right? If I push this way, I have an equal and opposite reaction that way, right? That's how.
Are there any theories as to how it's accomplishing this?
There is. Actually, Dr. Hal Puthoff about 3 years ago gave a speech on this, a very interesting lecture about this technology. And if you ever have the chance, you really should have him on, because he's an incredible human being. He's also the one who helped start the government's remote viewing program and a bunch of other stuff for the government. He's been involved in a lot of our nation's probably most classified efforts. But he was working with us on ATIP as one of our scientists.
Why is the Pentagon teasing us? Why do they tell you? Why are they allowing you to say we are in possession of something that was not made by human beings, but not allowed to elaborate, not allowed to show these very compelling videos that you're talking about that you've seen?
I don't. Well, two reasons. I don't think they have a choice. I think with now the introduction of cell phones and Ring cameras, the cat's out of the bag. It's the worst kept secret at this point. Two, there is a faction, unlike before in the Cold War, I believe there is a faction of people inside the government that do want this conversation to occur. But equally, there's still a faction of people that are very mad with me.
Thing everywhere all at once?
No, but I keep hearing amazing things about it.
Yeah, we just saw it this past
Did you go to the movie theater?
weekend, yeah.
Look at you, like a regular person.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
How was it? Tell me what it's a multiverse kind of movie,
it's
right?
like that. She ends up figuring out how to switch into her different lives and like take different times, different lives that she's lived throughout all of time.
Wait, what the
and
fuck?
Fast forward and rewind and use these things to her advantage and try to accomplish things. It's crazy.
Oh, I love time travel.
Yeah, it's wild.
Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was the theory that Terrence McKenna had to the thing that's going to change the universe, is that one day someone's going to invent a time machine, and that when they invent a time machine, all time ceases to become linear. Once a time machine gets invented, then anyone from the invention of the time machine forward to forever can come back to that moment and can go to any point in time from that moment to the end of time. So all time ceases to be linear. So there's no like tomorrow will be Wednesday and the next day will be Thursday. No. It's everything happens everywhere all at once. So people can travel back and forth through time. You can never own anything because someone could just travel through time and take it away from you when you weren't looking. Like as time travel gets more and more sophisticated, you can go back and forth in time while you're talking to people. If you don't like what you said, you could rewind and start all over again. If you're in an argument with your wife, you can go to the library and get information and come back and go, actually, Herodotus once said, and then bam, your wife thinks you're the smartest guy in the world. Like this, but there would be no normal life anymore. It would the world itself would be completely unrecognizable because time would mean nothing. You'd be able to travel back and forth through time.
All right, so then where would you go right now? Just if I could do, we can time travel right now, go back in
the past.
In the past.
Well,
what's one thing you'd like to see again?
See, that would be a different kind of time travel. That's an unrealistic theatrical version of time travel because, like you said, once time travel is invented, that's the time you can start traveling. So you can't
go before that.
Right.
Okay.
So like here we are, it's May of 2022. If time travel is invented in June, we're not going back to April. You can't go back to April.
Okay.
But you can go from June to a million years in the future and see what people look like. You'll be able to do that.
In the 1960s and 70s, there were many, many reports of alien abductions. People said, the aliens came to me and they brought me in and then they released me.
In recent years, the question of whether we are alone in the universe has captured the imagination of people all over the world. While UFO sightings have been reported for decades, the release of new footage has reignited the public's interest in this age-old mystery. The latest development to shake up the UFO community came in the form of what many are calling the clearest and most convincing UFO footage ever captured. This footage, which shows an unidentified flying object performing highly advanced maneuvers that defy conventional physics, has sparked a firestorm of debate and speculation. And who better to weigh in on the matter than renowned astrophysicist, author, and science communicator Neil deGrasse Tyson? Tyson, who has spent his career explaining complex scientific concepts to the public, has never shied away from discussing UFOs and extraterrestrial life. He is known for his logical, evidence-based approach to such topics, and his perspective on the recent UFO footage has been eagerly awaited by enthusiasts, skeptics, and the media alike. In today's video, we will break down Neil deGrasse Tyson's analysis of the clearest UFO footage yet, examining his thoughts on the evidence, the implications of the video, and what it means for the future of UFO research. Before diving into Tyson's take on the footage, let's first take a look at the video itself and what makes it so compelling. The footage, which was captured by a military-grade infrared camera, shows a highly unusual object darting through the sky at incredible speeds. The object moves with remarkable precision, performing maneuvers that seem impossible for any known aircraft to execute. It changes direction rapidly, accelerates without any visible means of propulsion, and exhibits an almost supernatural level of agility. What makes this footage stand out from previous UFO sightings is the clarity and detail with which it was captured. Unlike many earlier UFO videos, which were grainy or blurry, this new footage is crystal clear. The object is visible in full detail, and the infrared camera allows us to see its heat signature, making it even more intriguing. The footage has been analyzed by multiple experts, including former military personnel, and many agree that the object is unlike anything they have ever seen. Some have speculated that the object could be a top-secret military craft, perhaps developed by a government or private entity. Others have suggested that it might be an extraterrestrial spacecraft, given the way it defies our understanding of physics and aerodynamics. But no matter which theory you subscribe to, the video undeniably raises important questions about what we are seeing and what it means for our understanding of the universe. So what does Neil deGrasse Tyson make of all this? Let's break down his perspective on the footage, starting with his thoughts on the evidence. Neil deGrasse: Tyson's approach to UFO evidence. When it comes to UFOs, Neil deGrasse Tyson has always been clear about his stance. He is not one to jump to conclusions without solid evidence. As a scientist, he places a heavy emphasis on empirical data and rigorous analysis. And he has often stated that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. This is a viewpoint that has earned him both praise and criticism from those in the UFO community. Some have accused him of being dismissive of the possibility of extraterrestrial life, while others appreciate his commitment to rational inquiry. In his response to the latest UFO footage, Tyson has been careful to acknowledge the unusual nature of the video, while also reminding the public that we must be cautious when interpreting such evidence. He points out that just because something appears to be unexplainable doesn't necessarily mean it is of extraterrestrial origin. Tyson has made it clear that while the footage is fascinating, it is not enough on its own to definitively prove the existence of UFOs or extraterrestrial life. One of the key points Tyson raises in his analysis is the need for more context. While the video itself may be compelling, it is just a snapshot in time, and there are many unanswered questions about the object's behavior and origin. Tyson emphasizes the importance of gathering additional data before jumping to conclusions. For example, it would be useful to know more about the location of the sighting, the conditions under which the footage was captured, and any other relevant factors that could provide more insight into what was actually seen. Tyson is also quick to point out that there are many natural phenomena that could explain the object's behavior. He suggests that it could be a weather balloon, a drone, or even a man-made object moving in unusual ways due to wind currents or other atmospheric conditions. He stresses that while the footage is intriguing, it is not yet conclusive evidence of extraterrestrial activity. In his view, the scientific community must be patient and careful when evaluating such claims, as jumping to conclusions without sufficient evidence can undermine the credibility of the field. At the same time, Tyson acknowledges that the footage is indeed curious and warrants further investigation. He is careful to avoid dismissing the possibility of extraterrestrial life altogether, but he insists that we must adhere to the scientific method and look for additional evidence before making any bold claims. The importance of skepticism in UFO research. One of the most important aspects of Neil deGrasse Tyson's approach to UFOs is his emphasis on skepticism. In his discussions about the phenomenon, Tyson often stresses the need for critical thinking and rigorous scrutiny of the evidence. He argues that in order to advance our understanding of UFOs and extraterrestrial life, we must be willing to challenge our assumptions and remain open to all possibilities. But we must also be cautious about jumping to conclusions based on incomplete or misleading information. Tyson believes that skepticism is not about rejecting UFO sightings or dismissing the possibility of extraterrestrial life, but rather about ensuring that we are asking the right questions and evaluating the evidence in a thoughtful and objective way. He acknowledges that there are many unknowns in the universe, but he also warns against allowing sensationalism or wishful thinking to cloud our judgment. In his public statements, Tyson has repeatedly called for a more rigorous, evidence-based approach to UFO research. He believes that scientists should be at the forefront of investigating UFO sightings as they are trained to analyze data and look for patterns in a way that most other people are not. He also emphasizes the need for transparency and collaboration between governments, scientists, and the public in order to ensure that UFO sightings are investigated thoroughly and responsibly. Tyson's approach has resonated with many people who are frustrated with the lack of serious scientific inquiry into UFOs. For years, the topic has been shrouded in secrecy and stigma, with many scientists and institutions reluctant to engage with the subject. However, in recent years, there has been a shift in attitudes, with more researchers and even government officials beginning to take UFO sightings seriously. Tyson has played a key role in encouraging this shift, advocating for a more open and rational discussion of the subject. Extraterrestrial life. What would it mean for humanity? While Tyson is careful not to jump to conclusions about the nature of the UFO footage, he does acknowledge the profound implications that the discovery of extraterrestrial life would have for humanity. He has spoken extensively about the potential impact of discovering that we are not alone in the universe, and his thoughts on the matter are both thought-provoking and inspiring. Tyson believes that the discovery of extraterrestrial life would fundamentally change the way we see ourselves and our place in the cosmos. It would force us to reconsider our assumptions about life, intelligence, and the nature of the universe. In his view, the discovery of intelligent alien life would be one of the most important events in human history, potentially leading to a new era of scientific and philosophical exploration. At the same time, Tyson cautions that we should not expect an alien civilization to be anything like the ones depicted in popular science fiction. He stresses that the conditions required for life to emerge elsewhere in the universe are likely to be vastly different from those on Earth, and that the aliens we might encounter could be radically different from anything we can imagine. He also points out that the discovery of extraterrestrial life may not necessarily lead to a peaceful or harmonious interaction. Just as there are conflicts and misunderstandings between different cultures here on Earth, there is no guarantee that contact with an alien civilization would be without its own challenges. Despite these challenges, Tyson remains optimistic about the potential for human growth and discovery that could come from the search for extraterrestrial life. He believes that the pursuit of this knowledge is a noble endeavor, one that can help us better understand our own existence and the universe around us. Whether or not the recent UFO footage provides concrete evidence of extraterrestrial life, Tyson remains committed to the idea that humanity's search for answers should continue, grounded in science, skepticism, and an open mind. What's next for UFO research? As the debate surrounding the clearest UFO footage yet continues to unfold, one thing is certain: the topic of UFOs and extraterrestrial life is not going away. In fact, it's becoming an increasingly important subject of scientific inquiry as more and more people call for greater transparency and more rigorous research into UFO sightings. Tyson's approach to UFOs, grounded in skepticism, critical thinking, and a commitment to evidence-based science, provides a model for how we can engage with this phenomenon in a responsible and meaningful way. While it is important to remain open to the possibility of extraterrestrial life, it is equally important to avoid jumping to conclusions without sufficient evidence. As Tyson himself has said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. As the scientific community continues to examine the latest UFO footage and other similar incidents, we can expect more debate, more research, and more discoveries in the years to come. Whether this will ultimately lead to the confirmation of extraterrestrial life remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: the search for answers will continue, and the journey will be as exciting as it is uncertain. Expanding on the role of science in UFO research. One of the reasons Neil deGrasse Tyson's commentary on UFOs carries so much weight is because of his distinguished background in astrophysics. His perspective is grounded in scientific rigor and empirical data. He has long emphasized that before jumping to conclusions, especially with something as extraordinary as a UFO sighting, there must be careful scrutiny of the evidence and a rigorous scientific approach. This perspective is critical in helping separate sensationalism from solid evidence. Tyson's approach is grounded in the scientific method. He encourages a process of observation, hypothesis formation, experimentation, and validation. If UFOs are extraterrestrial in origin, they represent one of the most monumental discoveries in human history. But for that discovery to be meaningful, it needs to be substantiated with concrete evidence and repeated observations. This is a crucial point that Tyson makes repeatedly. Scientific discoveries require the same level of scrutiny, whether they are exploring the nature of black holes, the existence of dark matter, or, as we are discussing now, the possibility of extraterrestrial visitors. For instance, even if the object in the UFO footage exhibits behavior that defies conventional understanding, it still requires scientific investigation. What materials was the object made of? How did it interact with the surrounding environment? Could its flight behavior be replicated by known technologies? These are the types of questions that scientists like Tyson would ask to deconstruct such an observation. If the footage is truly as extraordinary as it seems, its analysis must follow a similar line of inquiry, employing everything from physics to engineering to atmospheric sciences. Only by following this detailed process can we hope to uncover the truth. While Tyson has openly acknowledged the possibility of intelligent life existing elsewhere in the universe, he cautions that evidence for such claims should be publicly and thoroughly vetted. Unlike the sensational headlines we often see in tabloids or clickbait articles, a scientific approach demands a thorough examination, peer review, and a well-documented methodology that allows others to come to the same conclusions. This is a central reason Tyson resists calling something proof of extraterrestrial life based purely on visual evidence like UFO videos. Instead, he advocates for the scientific community to approach UFOs with the same level of scrutiny as they would any other extraordinary claim. The skepticism debate. Should we dismiss UFOs? Neil deGrasse. Tyson's comments on skepticism have been some of the most insightful and thought-provoking in the ongoing debate about UFOs. Over the years, Tyson has been consistent in his stance on UFOs, stressing that skepticism is not synonymous with dismissal, but rather an essential component of a thoughtful scientific inquiry. He recognizes that the public is drawn to the mystery of UFOs because it touches on a fundamental question: are we alone in the universe? This is a question that has captivated humankind for centuries, and UFO sightings often serve as tantalizing glimpses of the unknown. Yet Tyson has remained cautious about the rash conclusions some people jump to in response to UFO videos. The key reason for this caution is that there are multiple possible explanations for these sightings, many of which don't require the assumption that the objects in question are alien spacecraft. UFOs, Tyson argues, are, by definition, unidentified. While the footage may be compelling, the challenge is identifying the object in question. Until the object's nature can be properly determined, it remains just that, an unidentified flying object. This does not automatically mean it's alien in origin. In his discussions about UFOs, Tyson often emphasizes how sensationalized claims of extraterrestrial visits have historically clouded our judgment. There are numerous stories, books, and movies that present fantastical accounts of alien abductions, crop circles, and UFO sightings, and while these stories can be entertaining, they often make it harder for the scientific community to engage in rational inquiry. For Tyson, a scientifically rigorous approach to UFOs is crucial, as it helps separate the wheat from the chaff and allows us to investigate the phenomenon in an objective and systematic manner. This approach does not dismiss UFOs or the possibility of alien visitation, but it encourages the scientific community to approach the subject with the same skepticism it applies to other extraordinary claims. Skepticism, as Tyson sees it, is essential for the pursuit of knowledge, as it forces us to question assumptions and test our theories against reality. The search for extraterrestrial life, a broader perspective. The search for extraterrestrial life is one of humanity's greatest scientific endeavors, and it's something that Neil deGrasse Tyson has been deeply involved in throughout his career. Whether through his work on the search for microbial life on Mars, his role in discussions about the Drake equation, or his participation in projects like SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, Tyson has always been a vocal advocate for investigating the possibility of life beyond Earth. Tyson's perspective on the search for extraterrestrial life goes beyond just the question of whether UFOs are extraterrestrial in origin. He's interested in the broader implications of discovering life elsewhere in the universe. For example, if microbial life exists on Mars, what does that mean for the possibility of similar life on other planets? Could we eventually find evidence of intelligent alien life? The discovery of extraterrestrial life would be groundbreaking for science and humanity as a whole, but it also raises a host of questions about the nature of life, intelligence, and even our own place in the cosmos. One of the central questions Tyson raises in his discussions about extraterrestrial life is whether we can even recognize alien life when we encounter it. As he points out, life on Earth is carbon-based, but it's possible that life elsewhere in the universe could be entirely different. It could be silicon-based or involve biochemistry we can't even imagine. This makes it challenging to define what exactly we are searching for and what form it might take. He also emphasizes that extraterrestrial life might not necessarily be similar to what we envision from Hollywood films, such as little green men or large, menacing craft. Tyson is also quick to remind us that the search for extraterrestrial life isn't limited to the distant reaches of the galaxy. There are many places in our solar system where life could potentially exist. For example, the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn, like Europa and Enceladus, are considered some of the most promising places to search for microbial life. These moons have subsurface oceans beneath their frozen exteriors. and there is evidence that they may have the right conditions for life to thrive. Similarly, scientists have long speculated about the possibility of life on Mars, especially after evidence of ancient water channels and methane gas emissions were discovered by various Mars missions. The idea that life could exist beyond Earth has profound philosophical implications. It would force us to rethink our place in the universe and challenge our assumptions about the uniqueness of life on our planet. Tyson often talks about how the discovery of extraterrestrial life would be a humbling moment for humanity, reminding us that we are not the center of the universe. Such a discovery could foster greater unity on Earth, as the realization that we are not alone could encourage cooperation between nations and peoples. It would also underscore the importance of protecting and preserving life on Earth, as we would be reminded that life is fragile and precious. The impact of UFO research on public perception. The recent release of clear UFO footage has had a profound impact on public perception of extraterrestrial life. What was once a topic relegated to the realm of fringe science and conspiracy theories has become a mainstream conversation. Tyson's thoughtful and measured approach to UFOs has helped shift the narrative, urging the public to consider UFO sightings as legitimate scientific phenomena worthy of study rather than sensationalized entertainment. Part of Tyson's impact comes from the way he frames the conversation. He doesn't dismiss UFOs outright, but challenges the public to consider them through the lens of science and reason. Rather than simply fueling the fire of speculation, he encourages a thoughtful, evidence-based approach. By focusing on rational inquiry and skepticism, Tyson has helped bridge the gap between those who believe in UFOs and those who are more skeptical, opening up a dialogue that focuses on the scientific exploration of the unknown. As more and more military and government officials come forward with reports of UFO sightings, the stigma surrounding the topic is slowly eroding. People are becoming more willing to entertain the possibility that UFOs might represent something beyond conventional explanation. This shift is evident in the growing interest in UFOs among the general public and the media. News outlets have increasingly covered sightings and government reports, and there is a growing recognition that UFOs are a subject worthy of serious attention. This change in public perception is not just limited to UFO enthusiasts. Even some scientists are beginning to take the phenomenon seriously. While some still approach the topic with skepticism, the broader scientific community is starting to acknowledge that UFOs may represent a challenge to our understanding of physics, aerodynamics, and the possibilities for advanced technologies. Tyson has been a key figure in promoting this change, advocating for a more rigorous and open-minded approach to the study of UFOs. The role of technology in UFO research. One of the reasons we are seeing clearer and more compelling UFO footage than ever before is the advancement of technology. The proliferation of high-quality cameras, infrared imaging systems, and satellite technology has made it easier to capture and analyze UFO sightings. The military's use of advanced technologies like infrared sensors has allowed for more precise tracking of unknown objects, while the development of better telescopes and space probes has expanded our ability to scan distant objects in the cosmos. As Tyson points out, one of the exciting developments in UFO research is the increasing availability of advanced tools that can capture more detailed data. While earlier UFO sightings often relied on grainy, low-resolution images, today's cameras and sensors provide far clearer images and more accurate data. This advancement could make a significant difference in our ability to analyze UFOs, as clearer evidence will allow scientists to better study the objects and their behavior. In addition to the advancements in imaging technology, the increasing availability of computational tools and data analysis software is allowing for more detailed study of UFO sightings. By using machine learning algorithms and data analysis techniques, researchers can process large amounts of data from UFO sightings and potentially uncover patterns that would be difficult to detect with the naked eye. Tyson sees this technological progress as a positive development, as it could help scientists uncover more data about UFOs and move us closer to understanding what they are. Conclusion: a call for rational exploration. As we wrap up this exploration of Neil deGrasse Tyson's response to the clearest UFO footage yet, one thing is abundantly clear. Tyson calls for a rational, evidence-based approach to studying UFOs. While he recognizes the allure and mystery of UFOs and extraterrestrial life, he insists that we must maintain a scientific mindset, applying skepticism and critical thinking to any evidence that emerges. The discovery of extraterrestrial life, if it happens, will be one of the most significant events in human history. But it is through careful and rational inquiry that we will uncover the truth, not through sensationalism or wishful thinking. As Tyson says, the universe is under no obligation to make sense to you. And the search for extraterrestrial life is one of the most profound scientific endeavors of our time. Whether or not the clearest UFO footage is evidence of alien life, Tyson's approach reminds us that the pursuit of knowledge requires patience, careful analysis, and an open mind. So as we continue to explore the mysteries of the universe, let's follow Neil deGrasse Tyson's lead and engage in thoughtful, evidence-driven exploration. Thank you for joining us as we delve into this fascinating subject. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on this thrilling topic.